Hello, it's 8 o'clock. You're watching the UK Tonight. Coming up, we go inside the police unit trying to crack down on violent crime in Manchester. We've spent 2 months with the officers from Operation Venture, who are trying to get knives off the city's streets and catch the people carrying them. That's the challenge for police across the country. And on Merseyside tonight, a 14-year-old boy is in police custody after a boy and girl were found with stab wounds in Kirkby. Also tonight, a ban on transgender footballers in the women's game. The FA says it knows it is a decision that will be difficult for those who simply want to play the game that they love. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris will be speaking to one of those players. Plus, the hottest start to May ever. The latest UK weather record to be broken this year with the start of spring, now the sunniest since records began. And we're going to be talking tonight about online scams. I'll be joined in the studio by a man who was tricked into giving away £75,000. And we'll be speaking to an ethical hacker who's scamming the scammers. All that to come and much more on the UK Tonight. Sky News has been given exclusive access to an elite policing unit dedicated to tackling rising knife crime and violence on the streets of Manchester. We spent 2 months with officers working to crack down on the crimes that see children as young as 11 being detained and weapons being carried as though they're an everyday necessity. Our North of England correspondent Katerina Vitozzi has this special report.
At a time of rising knife crime,
You're under arrest. Possess the bladed article.
we've been given access to an elite policing team.
Officer with a taser. Up it now.
Greater Manchester Police's Operation Venture focus on reducing serious violence.
There is a weapon inside.
And we've been with them as they take on some of the city's most dangerous offenders.
No, police, stop.
It's mid-March at Operation Venture's HQ.
This team's different because they are ring-fenced to deal with serious violent crime and knife crime. In Greater Manchester, it is a problem, and it's a problem with those under 25 especially, that are airing the grievances.
In the 2.5 years since the unit's creation, they've taken 250 knives off the streets.
So what sort of a knife is that one?
I'd probably describe it as a Rambo knife.
Using proactive stop and search and undercover tactics, it's why for some officers we won't show their faces.
Right, let's get going then.
We deploy with Sergeant Mohammed Wakas and PC Hodge, whose face we can't show, to South Manchester. It's a hotspot for youth knife crime, and they quickly get a hit.
Our plainclothes officers have spotted a bike with 2 lads on, both wearing balaclavas, so we suspect they're involved in some kind of knife box robberies.
Logs come in as well, suggesting sort of weaving between traffic, looking at people.
Yeah.
So we think potentially going to try and rob someone.
The bike is a grey moped. They think it's been stolen.
There we go. Moped. Where?
It's just at the top, it's kicked around.
Yeah, no, we'll have it.
I swear to God, I felt chasing like that.
I know, mate. I know.
Right, we'll keep an eye out for them anyways.
The team's plainclothes unit spots the moped again and arrests one 16-year-old off the back, but 2 others on board race away.
Ricky, which way did the moped go?
Where we are on that, it took a left, so away from Kingsway.
Right, there he is.
Down there, right.
Where?
Straight ahead.
It's in front of that yellow
I got
van.
him.
Go ahead.
Behind this moped, pursuing it.
Comms just got a moped failed to stop for us. 2 up. It's currently on Kingsway. We believe these are the males that are involved in the robbery. Comms not currently got rid.
Sorry, you broke then. Is it the males tried to steal someone's bike earlier with a knife?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Unbelievably, it looks like one of them is filming this on a phone.
Can I give you my consideration? 18320 is driving, IPP train 16139 giving commentary. Currently on Kingsway, heading towards Burnage. Hold on.
Sorry, folks.
I'll judge user.
It's alright.
In rush hour traffic, they lose them.
Yeah, comms at a total loss at the minute. Com, just the log as well. 2 males, white males, both got balaclavas on. And one of them's possibly got something in his jacket. Can't tell what it is, but just the way he was holding himself.
It's incredibly frustrating for the team and becomes even more so a few hours later when a 999 call comes in.
X-ray Romeo 1, we're only 2 minutes out as well.
A member of the public says they've seen a young boy being robbed at knife point.
With these kids now, the big kid, he's got his mobile phone and his coat robbed. It's about a 3-inch click knife, he's stated.
X-ray Romeo 1, for this incident, do we know if the offenders are on foot or vehicles or bikes?
They're on a moped. One of them on the back of it has got a blue backpack on. It's potentially still in the park or around this area.
Do you think that could be the same moped?
All wearing black.
Yeah, I do.
Potentially.
Yeah, this is the area it operates in as well.
How common is it that you would see someone earlier in the day, they've seen the police, they've been involved in a chase, and yet they're still hanging around the area?
It's quite common because they're quite cocky and they're confident that they'll probably get away. And like you said, sometimes you just got to persevere a bit with them. We just need one opportunity to try and get them, but they need to try and get away from us every single time.
2 weeks later, we're back with the team.
2 marked cars though, great clouds.
Heading for patrol in Salford. It's where the most knives are used and seized in Greater Manchester.
Knife-enabled robbery, it's something that seems to have increased. Sometimes they'll film themselves doing the robbery and they're sharing it around, and that becomes the normality, and people will then sort of, sometimes will carry weapons to protect themselves. There's another one.
Sergeant Paul Heap has been with the unit since it began. Hello. PC Maguire swaps between uniform and covert ops, so we're protecting her identity.
I remember when I was, a teenager, you'd never even hear of anyone carrying a knife, and now it's like the normal thing to do. It's mad.
No! Police, stop!
PC Maguire was on patrol late last year when the team spotted a suspected drug dealer.
Stop or you'll be tasered!
The boy they arrest is just 16.
Yeah, good.
I've been in just under 6 years now, and I'd say the last 2 years, people are they just don't care anymore. They're using knives and doing all sorts.
Nothing to worry about, we're just doing a quick check. Have you got any knives on sale? House knives?
Yeah, we sell like...
Can you just show them? You're not in trouble,
Yeah, no,
we're just seeing, make sure they're all right. And hey, you all right? What we're finding is, like, these things are being used on the streets.
All right.
All right, so we want everyone here to do their bit.
It's illegal for under 18s to buy knives. The unit does spot checks to make sure shops keep to the rules.
Have you got cameras on this?
Yeah, camera here.
Camera there. Is that one working?
And we will put in that here as well. That.
Have you had young people who've come in to try and buy knives?
No, but when they're coming, if they want it, but we can't give it because we know the rule, yeah?
Later that evening, a police camera flags a suspicious vehicle.
X-ray Romeo 3, I'm directly behind the vehicle.
And what are you suspecting this car of being involved in?
It's just hit our camera.
It's got intel for drug supply.
He asked me about the intel. He's dealing Class A and B. That went on 6th of March this year.
X-ray Romeo 4, show me his car too, please.
It's pulling up of its own accord. Go.
Box on.
The driver is in his 20s.
We'll take for the purpose of a search, section 43, this is the okay?
Amongst the baby equipment, the team find a knife,
Locks.
and a box full of cash. Officers think there's about £50,000.
So what will happen to him now?
He's been arrested on suspicion of money laundering due to the sheer amount of cash he's got and possession of a bladed article because he's got a lock knife.
But the team suspect there's something else at the house where the man's parked.
So the officers are just going into this address now. They've searched the vehicle and they've been told by the man that they have arrested that there is a weapon inside.
We got a tube.
What have you found?
Machete, I'd say it is.
Where did you find it?
Bedroom. Laws have changed and you can't have that anymore. I know, it's what it is, isn't it? Yeah, mate.
Why would you even buy something like that?
You can buy them online. You can get them imported into the country. There'll be places in the country that sell them.
Since Operation Venture's creation, violent crime in Greater Manchester has fallen by 11%. They've seized knives off the street and arrested people suspected of selling illegal knives online. But even this team says enforcement isn't enough.
This isn't an issue that we can arrest our way out of. We've come across people as young as 11 carrying a knife. You know, people at 14 years old being involved in stabbings or being the victim of it. It is heartbreaking. You know, and obviously we want to make a difference around that, and that's why we need that community approach to this and that health approach to this to try and reduce it further.
Katerina Vitozzi, Sky News, Manchester.
In another chilling example of the type of attack the police are desperately trying to prevent, 2 teenagers were stabbed and seriously wounded in an incident in Kirby last night. A 14-year-old boy has now been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. Our North of England correspondent Katie Barnfield is in Kirby.
Well, this has been really shocking for the local community around here, not just because it happened in the daylight on a sunny summer's evening right outside a shop and a pub with plenty of people in the area at the time, but also because it was involving children. The main suspect is just 14 years old. He's now been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder and is being held in police custody and questioned currently. The 15-year-old boy who was stabbed, we understand, was stabbed multiple times. He is now recovering in hospital, along with the 14-year-old girl who was stabbed once, but in the chest. They have both been seriously injured, but their condition is stable, and police say it's not life-threatening. Now, this is a busy residential area. There are plenty of houses around here, plenty of people who saw what happened last night. And I spoke to one man who lives directly opposite where the attack happened, and he said it's a really frightening time for people around here.
I feel like, to be honest, I don't really want my sister to walk home from school or anything, do you know what I mean? Like, she only goes to the school over there, walking home, seeing someone getting stabbed. It's not a nice thing to see, do you know what I mean? Especially with kids about.
Well, Merseyside police have had forensic teams here all afternoon. In fact, a little earlier we were watching them digging through the drains for evidence. They've also had officers going door to door to all of the houses around here, asking if people have things like mobile phone footage, video doorbell footage, anything that could help with their inquiries. They have also put in place a Section 60 order tonight in parts of Kirby that will give the police extra powers to stop and search people out on the streets, and that will be in place until tomorrow. They said people around here should expect to see extra officers on the streets to reassure them. The police also told me earlier they are looking for an extra suspect in connection with this attack, but they haven't yet released any details about exactly who they're looking for, their age, anything like that. But they're still at the moment trying to piece together exactly why this happened.
Katie Barnfield reporting for us there. Now, a jury has been shown footage of a man accused of dumping 2 bodies on Clifton Suspension Bridge, killing one of his alleged victims in a frenzied attack. Justin Andres Mosquera has admitted the manslaughter of Albert Alfonso by way of loss of self-control, but he denies his murder and that of Mr Alfonso's partner, Paul Longworth. Sky's Alice Porter is at the Old Bailey.
Well, Mr Mosquera very much knew the deceased men, and in particular Albert Alfonso, because the two of them regularly engaged in sex, and it was during a sexual encounter that the killing took place, and this was recorded by Mr Alfonso, and this was shown in court today. And it was during that consensual sexual encounter that we saw the knife had been hidden by Mr Mosquera, and it was that knife that was used to stab Mr Alfonso repeatedly over his body. Now, the prosecution put forward that earlier in that day that Mr Longworth had been killed by Mr Mosquera using a hammer to give repeated blows to the head. Now, the prosecution say that both men's bodies were dismembered, their heads were put in a freezer, and we were shown in court footage of a CCTV footage of a freezer being delivered to the property on Scots Road that was owned by the 2 men. And it was 2 days after the killings took place that we also saw footage of a van that had come to the property, a man with a van, which we knew that Mr Mosquera, which was shown in court, was trying to find a man with a van to take him with suitcases to Clifton and to Clifton Suspension Bridge. So this was a 100-mile journey from West London that happened on the 10th of July last year, and we were shown the footage of this man with a van who came with a van and took Mr Mosquera with 2 suitcases, and these suitcases contained, we know, the human remains of Albert Alfonso and Paul Longworth, bringing their remains to Bristol, and to very much near Clifton Suspension Bridge. And again, we were shown footage of Mr Mascara walking up and down Clifton Suspension Bridge with those suitcases, and it was those suitcases which had the human remains. Now, he eventually ran off. The police then were on the scene, and we were able to ascertain that there were human remains in the suitcases, and because there was an address label in the suitcase, we're able to trace them to the property in Scots Road, which was owned by the deceased men. Now, Mr Mascara has pleaded guilty to manslaughter of Albert Alfonso, but has pleaded not guilty to the 2 counts of murder in relation to both men, and the trial will continue here at the Old Bailey over the next few weeks.
Transgender footballers will be banned from the women's game in England from next season. The FA says it is contacting registered transgender players to explain how they can stay involved in the game. And cricket could follow suit, with reports the ECB is meeting tomorrow to discuss its own ban. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris has more.
As a trans female footballer, Natalie Washington now only has a month left being allowed to play in women's football in England.
The FA has been quite steadfast in their support for the participation of trans women up to now, so I was shocked, and I was clearly upset and disappointed that, this means that I'm having to stop playing football.
Do you understand those who say there are sporting fairness and safety issues having trans women playing women's football?
Safety, I've personally not ever seen any evidence that there's any real safety risk in women's football. I get bashed about on the pitch as much as anyone else does, and I think, it doesn't, and I think the FA have actually been reasonably clear that it doesn't seem that that's driving any of this decision. It is purely one of fear of litigation and the change in the law.
A Supreme Court ruling that a female is defined by biological sex, forcing change from the English and Scottish FAs.
It's wonderful news, but it's really quite late. The FA did not have to wait for the Supreme Court ruling. It was always open to it under the Equality Act to exclude people born male, people who are male, people who have male advantage from the female category, because the female category exists in order to exclude those people.
The FA had tried to remain inclusive. Only a month ago, its policy was updated to allow case-by-case interventions to ban trans women over fairness and safety concerns, while still allowing others to play with reduced testosterone levels. But announcing the ban from the 1st of June, the FA said, "We understand that this will be difficult for people who simply want to play the game they love in the gender by which they identify, and we are contacting the registered transgender women currently playing to explain the changes." There are only believed to be around 20 trans women playing in women's amateur football in England, with none in the professional game. The FA has told them to consider taking up refereeing or coaching instead. Therapy has also been offered. Internationally, there is no similar ban yet from FIFA, whose gender eligibility review has been ongoing for more than 3 years. But athletics and swimming have already limited global women's sports events to competitors female at birth. And in England, netball and cricket are following the FA's lead. While trans women will feel the pain of being excluded, moves to protect women's sport are being celebrated by campaigners. Rob Harris, Sky News.
Today was the UK's hottest 1st of May on record. 29.3 degrees Celsius was recorded at Kew Gardens in southwest London, beating the record set in Lossiemouth in Scotland 35 years ago. The bright start to May follows the sunniest April ever, and with March also breaking sunshine records, it is the warmest and brightest start to spring since records began in the 19th century. Our science correspondent Thomas Moore reports.
Summer has come early, and Britain basked in the unusual warmth. Lidos became oases, parks became pitches, and idyllic spots to sunbathe. As temperatures reached a new high for the start of May, a balmy 29.3 degrees in Kew, West London.
It's gone from being really nice, now it's a teensy bit too hot today, so we're aiming for the shade. But yeah, I think it's taken us all a bit by surprise, hasn't it? Yeah. 29 degrees.
This is the first time we're experiencing the hot weather, so this is a bit of a learning curve, I guess. But yeah, ice packs all the way.
Ben's been really organised and packed wine, so that's been fantastic.
The new record is almost 2 degrees warmer than the previous high for May the 1st of 27.4 set in Moray in Scotland in 1990. It follows the sunniest and the 3rd warmest April on record, with temperatures 1.7 degrees above average, according to new data from the Met Office. And the month was also drier than normal, with just over half as much rain as you'd expect across the country. It continues the warm and dry weather many of us enjoyed all spring. Scientists say climate change is adding to natural variation in the temperature. According to the research group Climate Central, spring is warming fastest of all the seasons, with average temperatures up 1.8 degrees since 1970. And it says the fingerprints of human-induced global warming can be seen across much of the country in the current hot spell. Along the east coast, from Aberdeen to Dover, and in parts of Wales and the southwest, high temperatures have been made 4 or even 5 times more likely by climate change. The warm, dry spring has fuelled wildfires. Figures from Europe's satellite monitoring service Copernicus show more than 29,000 hectares in the UK have been burnt so far in 2025. That's more than twice as much as the average, a little over 12,000 hectares for an entire year. The fires are still burning. In Derbyshire, helicopters were brought in to douse an area of moorland, and the risk of further wildfires remains high for the next few days, particularly in Scotland. The mini heatwave has claimed at least 1 life. In Nottingham, a 16-year-old boy died after getting into difficulty while swimming in a lake. But the hot spell will fizzle out as we go into the weekend, with temperatures falling rapidly back to normal. Thomas Moore, Sky News.
Still to come here on the UK tonight, the first children from Gaza allowed into the UK for medical treatment finally arrived. But why has it taken so long? And have you been a victim of an online scam? We'll be speaking to someone who lost £75,000, as well as to a so-called scam beta. That's on the way.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. I'm ready. Are you? Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
2 girls from Gaza have begun hospital treatment in the UK, having become the first children from the territory to be allowed to come here for desperately needed medical help. It's taken almost 18 months to arrange, but the parents of Rama, who is 12, and 5-year-old Gaynor say that it is a dream come true. Our international correspondent John Sparks has this story.
It was a welcome party of sorts. Flowers, a few presents, and a sense of relief. Because 2 children in urgent need of medical treatment would soon arrive from overseas. The difficult bit is where they're from.
There aren't many people here to welcome the children, to greet them, and I think that says something, which I think it says a lot, about how sensitive this is.
Through security and into the light. These are the first children from Gaza with permission to enter Britain for medical care. 5-year-old Gaynor needs immediate treatment, or she'll lose her left eye. Rama is weak and struggles to hold down her food. Doctors say the 12-year-old needs an operation on her bowel. For her mother, it's difficult to believe they've been selected for this. In Gaza, there are thousands of children in need.
What's going through your mind?
كأنه dream. كأنه حلم.
A dream. Yeah.
كأنه حلم. لأنه أجينا من حرب ومن خوف ومن قصف.
It's taken 17 months to make this happen. A small group of volunteers have raised the money and fought and argued for the visas.
It's been a very long journey. There have been many times where we didn't think we would be here as we are now. It's overwhelming for everyone, I think.
Displaced by the fighting, the girls were living in tents with little food, no medicine, no way to keep themselves clean. These images of the place where 12-year-old Rama was forced to live. Her condition was so unstable, her family couldn't move her, even when the bombing came close.
إيش مالك إيش مالك؟ أنت بدك تبقى زي غنى؟ إيش مالك إيش بجعك؟ طب إيش بجعك؟
Our team met them in Egypt the day before they flew to the UK.
أنت ليش بتعيطي؟ طب احكي لي ليش تعيطتي؟ ليش عيطتي؟ ليش بتعيطي؟ طب احكي لي احكي ليش بتعيطي؟ ليش عيطتي؟ ترجع على غزة ولا بدك تروح تتعالجي؟ بدك تروح تتعالجي وبعديها
The pain is not just a physical thing. Rama is worried about her sisters, Hala and Lamis. They were injured when a tank shell hit the family home. Both women had been living in the ruins.
هاي الحالة وين هذا الحال البيت؟
As the pressure builds on her optic nerve, 5-year-old Gaynor needs specialist care, but that's no longer available in Gaza. The hospital where she went for treatment has been destroyed. Mother Haneen knows they've been fortunate, but she also feels guilty. The Israelis have only permitted a small number of children to leave for treatment.
طبعاً إيش فرحة وشعور مختلط يعني في حزن وفي فرحة وفي يعني كمان الواحد حزين على الأطفال اللي في غزة يعني في كتير مصابين وفي كتير رحلات يعني يا ريت تطلع وتتعالج وتلاقي فرصة للعلاج لأنه كلهم بيهمونا يعني.
A small group of volunteers are responsible for this, organising treatment and the temporary visas to enter Britain. But the process has proven painfully slow.
I'm trying to understand why it has taken so long. I mean, it's privately funded, no cost to the taxpayer.
I don't know, but I think for us, we, just kept going because at the end of this pathway are children who need urgent medical care, and I can't think of anything more important to spend your time trying to improve.
These volunteers call themselves nobodies, but they've taken an interest and given 2 children from Gaza a chance. And there's a list of other children they can save, but they can't do it all on their own. John Sparks, Sky News at Heathrow.
Still to come here on the UK Tonight, the rise of online scamming. We'll be speaking to a victim and a consumer expert, as well as a so-called scam baiter. That's after the break. Hello, welcome back. You're watching the UK Tonight. Now, billions of pounds are lost every year to scammers. We've all received texts claiming to be from HMRC or phone calls claiming to be from our bank. But the majority of scam attempts are now taking place online. Almost 9 in 10 of us say that we've encountered scam content on the internet, and almost half, 46%, admit that they have been drawn into engaging with an online scam. Well, joining me in the studio tonight, Des Healy, who was the victim of an online financial scam, and the consumer rights expert Harry Kind. And we're also joined tonight by professional scam baiter Pierogi, who's joining us from an undisclosed location. Be interesting to talk to Pierogi in a short while. But first, Des and Harry, thank you for coming into the studio. I want to talk about your story, Des, because this happened back in August 2023. And like the rest of us, you saw an advert on Facebook. We're used to seeing them now. And this was advertising a new Bitcoin investment scheme, and it piqued your interest.
It did. I mean, what sold it for me was Martin Lewis came over, the advertisement afterwards. Obviously wasn't Martin Lewis, but I thought it was. So I thought I'd have a go. £200 investment from your credit card. And basically, they do all the work and you just watch the money come in, basically. I only thought it was going to be a couple of £100 initially. I was having a word with Harry, actually. It's manipulation of the human emotions, I think, more than anything, the way the scam works. Now I can see it clearly. At the time when I was involved, I was just, you know, I suppose I was under a spell.
Traditionally, when you think of scams, you think of these text messages or these emails, but you sent your name, your number and a bit of money, and then you got a phone call. You were actually communicating with a man who called himself Carl Hines, and that's what drew you in. You created a relationship, a friendship. He served as a financial advisor, someone to talk to, and someone who you built trust with.
Yeah, he spoke a lot about his background. I've been a single parent for years, and his family values were very strong. I'm a Man United fan, and he knew more about Man United than I did. Obviously, these things afterwards, again, he could have gone on Facebook and found all this. As far as the personal details are concerned, you have to leave them with this lady to begin with before the guy gets in touch. And Harry, actually, you was talking about if your credit rating is very, very high, is there any way that anybody other than myself could access that information? Because maybe between the lady and him phoning me, they would look that up.
Yeah, Harry, I mean, Des isn't the first, he certainly won't be the last. These scams are getting more and more sophisticated, and people who, you know, think they know what to look out for, who think they're streetwise, like Des, get drawn into them. But they do glean more information as they go along. How does this happen to people? What's the kind of process?
It is a process. It's an escalating ladder, a seduction that starts, you know, we talk about the high-tech elements of this, the AI, the deep fakes, the social media adverts, but it then ends up in a very old-fashioned relationship. It's building trust over the phone. Some of these things happen in person as well. And so the pipeline where I suppose tech is most valuable is that it allows them to access as many people as possible, to then sift through them so that the scammers aren't wasting their time on people that they don't think they're going to get any money from. But when they do get someone and they can build up that relationship, a grooming process, there's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah, because you described Des as being put under a spell. You talk about a few £100s at the beginning, then there was 5,000.
Well,
then...
they take £1,000 first, but the £1,000 comes back.
Yes.
So in your mind straight away, it doesn't matter if you invest money because it's going to come back, but only the £1,000 comes back. Then the £5,000 is used, and then things start operating very, very quickly.
And it went up to £10,000 of your own money, and then you were pressured into taking out loans totalling £70,000.
Plus £6,000 of my own money, yes.
From 4 different banks. When did you smell a rat?
Do you know, it's a very awkward question, because I probably smelt a rat most of the way through, but I refuse to believe that. I know that sounds awful, but once you're financially involved, I think you want to believe that the whole thing is genuine. Yeah. You want to believe, you want to hang in there, because, one, you don't want to be called the idiot, and also, as finances are very hard to come by these days, and when someone's taken them, you want them back.
I want to bring Pierogi in now, the scam beta. Pierogi, before we have a chat, I know you were nodding along to a lot of what Des was saying there. This sounds very familiar to you. Let's just have a quick look at you doing your thing.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for... In today's scam bait video, I'm going to give you a little bit of scammer rage.
Oh, my God, it's already minimized. It's already minimized. Why are you touching it?
A little dash of scammer meltdown. These scammers are desperate to steal $46,000 from me.
Ma'am, this is Mark Rixton here. Please answer my call, ma'am. Please. Please talk to me once before you go to the bank.
They're fake PayPal refund scammers out of Kolkata, India. And I'm going to make their lives miserable for 2 days.
It says the system cannot file refund.
Don't type enter, okay? Don't type enter, okay? Ma'am.
So you'll get to see just how stupid these two scammers really are. In today's video, we're telling scammers their real names. I hacked into their system, and while doing a little bit of digging, I found these two guys. Meet Farhan.
Which one? CTROU.RU?
Yeah, that's the one you guys are using. Yeah, it is! And Faisal.
Farhan died 2 days ago in a car accident. You want to talk to him? Go to heaven.
And what do you think about that?
Pierogi scamming the scammers. You have seen the other side to a scam that Des, for example, has been on the receiving end of. What's it like from the scammer's point of view?
You know, we thanks for having us on today. You know, we run across scams every single day. We're watching hundreds of scammers currently right now, myself and my team, and you know, we see some crazy dollar amounts. We're watching the scammer screen so we can see how they're interacting with their victims. They're having their victims, you know, go to the bank and lie to their, you know, bank branch and get a bunch of money out. They're actually sending additional criminals to the victims' homes. And they're collecting things like gold bars, cash, gift cards, you name it. And a lot of the process, what I heard from the gentleman on talking about who had just been scammed, it's very similar. We deal with a lot of call centers located in India, and they run these technical support type scams that then go into banking scams. So it's a little bit different, but there's a lot of the same elements. And there's a lot of this grooming and social kind of engineering and coercion that's, you know, that's involved with this. And it's a little bit less than like start with an investment, start here and build and grow. And it goes into more of, hey, there's a hacker on your account, they're in your bank accounts, and the only way to save yourself and save all of your money is to take all your money out of the account and give it to who the victim thinks is, you know, the treasury, some type of government or police agent or officer, and the money's gone forever. So we see a lot of this, and we literally just stopped a scam yesterday, a lady who had wire transferred 100,000 United States dollars and was about to send another 400,000. So we see it every day, and it's very common, and it's happening at a scale. I'm just telling you not to scare people, but it happens at a scale that would probably make you sick if you really saw the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, Parega, you hack their systems, you can see the information you have. We saw in that video there, you finding out the real identities of some of these scammers and using their real names, which shocks them. What do you do with the information you find? Do you hand it on to authorities, and are authorities best equipped to deal with these scammers? Because I would imagine it's not very easy to catch them. You're using all your expertise, your background in tech to infiltrate them.
Sure. Yeah, we have a great team, first and foremost. And the scammers are smart, but they're also very sloppy. And that allows us to utilize some things to get on their systems and collect information. That's the first thing that we do. So we get information on these guys from where they're located to any type of incriminating evidence, you know, where they're trying to transfer and move around money laundering, essentially. So we take that information, any potential victims or scams where they're running out of. We get this information, and then we work with our counterparts in the United States. We also work with other scam baiters in different regions around the world, whether it be folks in India, folks in the UK, all around the US and the world. And we get this information, we collaborate amongst ourselves, and we get some of these call centers raided, or we work with whatever local police there is. So us in the States, we have federal contacts, and then they work with local law enforcement to either go intervene with scams or go after the scammers themselves. And that's where, long term we want to get at, is where these call centers are actually getting shut down for good. We do deal with sometimes where we get a call center shut down and they get out in like 6 months and then they're back at it. But the beautiful thing about it is we can always find these guys because they're very sloppy.
Yeah, I would imagine it's very much like whack-a-mole. I mean, Des, I'm sure it doesn't bring you that much comfort to know that this is a global problem and, hundreds of thousands of people are being affected. Where are you in your situation at the moment? Because there was new UK regulation that was introduced in October, meaning that scam victims like yourself using mobile banking can expect reimbursement of up to £85,000 as standard. You lost your money. Yeah, you lost your money a year earlier. Your case is not covered. So where are you now? You're alive to the scam, you've ended it, but you ended up with 70 grand's worth of debt. What happened?
Well, there was four banks, separate banks that was involved.
That you had loans from?
Yeah. The loans rose. Two of them, the most expensive ones, thankfully, they cancelled the loans.
And that was at their discretion?
That was up to £50,000 and at their discretion. But two of them insist that I still owe the money because my personal details were attached to it, and they won't take on board the fact that those personal details were obtainable right at the beginning of the scam. They know it's a scam, but I think...
And what's the knock-on effect of that? Because your home is now at risk, and your mental and physical health has suffered.
Basically, I can't I can't support everything that I normally support in life and have to pay the extortionate amount of money back, especially twice over. So someone in my position, I'd be looking at bankruptcy.
I mean, Harry, you know this story inside out. You hear this a lot. What advice can you give to people like Des?
Well, I mean, this piece of regulation that means that you could be getting this reimbursement is so valuable. And I would say that that is the first port of call for people, is that as soon as you realise and they have that kind of aha moment, it's getting in contact with your bank. And I would really stress, make sure that you are contacting your bank with the actual bank's number. So that's relying on the number on the back of your credit card, or using 159, which is an amazing shortcut that for most mobile phones allows you to get in contact with your bank's fraud department just by giving your information, telling them and giving them all the information that they need, because they can either reverse that charge or they can get that reimbursement to you. And the law says that that should be within 5 working days. That's an incredibly powerful piece of legislation. But, I mean, it really is not good enough. And there will be people out there who transfer money through cryptocurrency, through gift cards, and they won't be protected by this.
Yeah, there are also people differ depending on the type of scam, right? And the cryptocurrency is the new emerging one. You were caught out by the Bitcoin thing. Everybody thinks this is the get-rich-quick scheme, right?
And it was, for a select few lucky people, the idea of something being too good to be true, therefore it probably is, just doesn't apply when you know that there are people who, you know, bought a pizza and had some change with Bitcoin 20 years ago and then suddenly they're multi-millionaires. There are these unusual things that happen, and so it's very difficult. But I do think social media companies, they have this amazing part to play in this, and when they are forced to ban scam adverts on their platforms, it will save us from getting scammed more.
Yeah, social media companies, banks, police doing their part. Scams make up roughly 40% of all crime in the UK, but only receive about 2% of police resources. It's a massive problem. Let's just bring in Pierogi for a last comment. What are your tips for people to keep themselves safe online? Because, you know, getting your money back is difficult. Getting law enforcement to get any real justice is difficult. How can people keep themselves safe in this ever-increasing, sophisticated world of scamming?
Sure, yeah, it's a great question. That's the million-dollar, I think multi-billion-dollar question at this point, because so much money has been stolen by these scammers over the vast number of years. You know, I think it really comes down to you have to protect yourself. If you have yourself and your loved ones, it doesn't matter what age these days, because there's various scams, whether it's that kind of get rich quick or the tech support scam, someone that may not know how to protect their computer. Never trust, unfortunately, your eyes, what someone's showing you, whether it's on a bank account or a return on a crypto investment, for instance. Start to bring in other parties, get other parties involved. One of the gentlemen on the panel was talking about calling up your bank and verifying there. I think that's great, but also physically going to a branch, if at all possible, to talk with a banker and get some additional verifications going to help. Talk to your family members, have conversations with them. Again, things that are too good to be true probably are too good. They're not real. And then also even not being able to trust the things that you see on your computer. So these scammers, they work against the systems that we use every single day, whether it's surfing the web, trying to go on Facebook, and all of a sudden you get a pop-up on your screen saying you have a virus. These scammers are very sophisticated in the fact that they can make it look as if they're Microsoft, they're Amazon, they're PayPal. Any of these big tech companies get you to call them up, and then they've got their script. They're really good when they get you on the phone. They're good at coercing you and manipulating you into sending them money. So verify is the number one thing I would say. Verify with your bank, verify with a loved one, and tell somebody. Don't keep it secret. These scammers want to keep all of these conversations and all of this secret because they want to steal your money. So make sure you verify with somebody else, verify with your bank, protect yourself, and don't trust what you see on your screen.
Oh, Pierogi, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to see Pierogi in action, Scammer Payback on YouTube. Really appreciate your time and your expertise and your insight. It's very unique, scamming the scammers. It's normally the scammers scamming us. Des, thank you for telling us your story, and I wish you all the best.
It's funny because that's where I am now, what he's just said.
Yeah.
I see the first part of anything, don't trust it.
Just don't do it. Put your money in the bank.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Well, listen, Des, best of luck. And Harry, thank you so much as well. Harry Kine, their consumer rights expert. It's been a really educational and insightful 15 minutes or so. Thank you. As does come here on the UK Tonight. Sky Sports News exclusive coming up for you with Chris Eubank Jr., who reveals he needed surgery after beating his bitter rival Conor Benn. That's on the way.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live. Joins us live all in one place, and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Mayhem in the Middle East, rippling in America's West.
Get back! Get back!
The resolve of these protesters is now being seriously tested. I saw police being forced or pushing young men and women to the ground as they made almost 100 arrests.
None of this is a peaceful protest.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles. How are you feeling?
I am angry.
It is an anti-woman agenda. Will the cold affect your voters?
Well, we have a lot of tremendous support, but it's nasty out there.
Anybody else?
Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
President Biden, do you trust President Xi? President Biden says that this meeting went well. He said real progress was made on a whole host of issues. Will your candidates win?
I hope so. I think they will. I think they're great candidates.
There's no doubt that Kamala Harris and her team are harnessing the power of social media. Do you think Kamala is brat?
Kamala's brat.
Were you scared?
Yeah, we were scared. It was terrible. Strong wind, building tearing down. As them say, our God works, so we can't do nothing.
The people here know that worse storms may well be on their way. Sky News, get the full story first. Free wherever you get your news. Ghislaine Maxwell has pleaded not guilty to all 6 charges against her. Mum, how are you feeling today?
Jeffrey said, you answer to Ghislaine, you just don't cross her.
Hello, welcome back. David is here with a look at the sport. And Chris Eubank Jr. Has given Sky Sports News an exclusive interview.
That's right.
After that epic fight against Conor Benn last week. He, of course, the victor. What's he had to say?
Do you know what? I mean, a lot. The man can talk for England as well as being an excellent boxer. Yes, quite. And, I mean, it was such a dramatic fight. It was kind of chaotic at times, wasn't it, this fight with Conor Benn? And he said that, you know, he won it on unanimous decision, but, of course, it had to go to the judges' scorecards, and then one arm gets raised. But he said that he was content, he was at peace with his performance, no matter what the result was, even before they declared the winner. He also talks about the relationship with his father, his own future. But in terms of the immediate fallout from that fight, he went to hospital for treatment on a sort of this gaping cut over his right eye. Now, there had been reports circulating that he'd broken his jaw. And apparently, you know, it sounded like that had come from the other camp, Conor Benn and his promoter, Eddie Hearn. But Chris Eubank Jr. was quite quick to dismiss those rumours.
Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn ran away with the story of a broken jaw. You know, there's no broken jaw here. We are strong. Our bones are dense. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling grateful that the fight was so well received. I'm in a great place.
Mentioned before the relationship with his father. Of course, they'd been under huge strain before the fight. They weren't really talking to each other. And then, of course, he arrives, you know, on the night and accompanies him on the ring walk. And
they were joined at the hip.
And he said this: there is a history and a genuine story everyone can relate to. The father and son story can't be surpassed by anything. That's the dream. That's the fantasy, a perfect working father and son relationship. For fight fans to see two men going through tough times and to eventually put that all to one side and unite, that isn't boxing, that's life. You start to get a bit deep.
Yeah.
Almost poetic. Every man, every son wants that, and if they can see it happen, it's a beautiful thing. He also talks about his future and what happens next. And obviously there is this rematch possibility.
It's always the rematch, isn't there?
He said the possibilities are endless, and he knows that this is an option for him. So September, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Conor Benn, or Canelo Alvarez, Mexican legend, superweight, you know, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters who is unified and was undisputed. He said he's also in my sight, so we'll see which option he tries to go for. But as he says, the possibilities are endless.
Definitely more to come, though.
Yeah, and good news for Chris Eubank Jr. And also, right now, Good news for the English teams involved in the Europa League and the Conference League.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
It strikes me that it's changed an awful lot even in the last 10 or 15 years. It wasn't very long ago we had yourself, we had Sam Allardyce, Alan Pardew, Steve McLaren, Steve Bruce, Harry Redknapp, all of you competing amongst each other in the top division. And that was a decade and a half ago. It wasn't that long ago.
No.
So that seemed a heck of a change so quickly, doesn't it?
Well, you're talking about people pretty much the same sort of age as well, of course. You know, maybe that was a generation, wasn't it, you're talking of? You know, we were probably at quite an important part of our careers in that period, and after, with quite a long CV and a lot of clubs behind that we could refer to, which would suggest we can do this job. I mean, now, of course, you know, the focus is often on the younger coach, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's a young person's game, so I don't complain about that at all. But as a result, of course, when they're looking for a younger coach, these clubs, often they probably think they're going to find him abroad. The Premier League is becoming a force to itself. I mean, the amount of money, it reminds me of Italy when I was there, because Italy was a place where all the players were being attracted to and where the big money was. So there's been an enormous change. So that's where the Premier League is today. So any job that comes up in the Premier League is not going to be, well, here's a list of Englishmen who might be interested in the job or who might be candidates. You go out, well, who's at Bayern Munich at the moment? Who's at Barcelona? Who's at Real Madrid? Who's at PSG? Why don't we get one of those? Because
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Quick look at today's hot topic, the weather.
The ideal atmosphere, whatever the altitude. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Today was, of course, the highest temperature of the year so far and the warmest start to May, but the next few days cooler. Most places fine this evening, a few showers around. Northern Scotland, Wales, central England and the south of Ireland, a risk of showers tonight. Elsewhere, largely dry. Mild in the south, chilly in the north. Friday morning, plenty of sunshine, but cloud will build across northern parts by lunchtime. Some coastal areas of southern England and East Anglia may become a little murky.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead. Qatar Airways sponsors the weather.
The UK Tonight is back on Tuesday next week with Matt Barbette. Yalda is next.